Hey guys, welcome back to another SERPWizz training. Today we're talking about cumulative layout shift. And before we get to that, head over to www.serpwizz.com to get your free instantly actionable SEO audit report, part of which we're going through now. So as I said, we're talking today about CLS. So CLS is something that's, depending upon when you're watching this, quite a big thing right now in 2021. It's about Google's core web vitals, and it's about basically user experience becoming a ranking factor in Google's eyes for how they would penalize or reward your site based upon someone's actual experience of using your website. So now of course we're looking today at pearlemon.com, and as you see here, CLS or cumulative layout shift measures the movement of visible elements within the viewport. So visible elements are the things that you can see. The viewport would be whatever device you're using to browse that website, whether it's a mobile phone, tablet, desktop, laptop, or otherwise. So that is ultimately what cumulative layout shift is. Let's jump into the web dev tools in Lighthouse to get some more insights on this. So it's a user-centric experience for measuring visual stability. That's quite a good word, because it helps quantify our often users experience unexpected layout shifts. A low CSS helps ensure that the page is delightful. It's a pretty bloody good word, isn't it? Delightful. So that you want your readers or your browsers to have a delightful experience. So have you been reading an article online when suddenly something changes on the page without warning, the text moves, you lost your place, or even worse, you're about to tap a link or a button, and in the instance before your finger lands, boom, the link moves, and you end up clicking something else. So if we have a look, it continues. It's because resources are loaded asynchronously, so they're not loaded at the same time. So different things can load in. So you could have a button that is loaded. So you go to click the button, but then an image loads after above it, and it pushes the button down. And you end up clicking the image, which has another link embedded, and it goes to another page. So that's an example. Or DOM elements. I always forget what DOM stands for, but they get dynamically added to the page above existing content. So that's an example of DOM content. So the culprit might be an image or video of unknown dimensions, a font that renders larger or smaller than its fallback, or a third-party ad or widget that dynamically resizes itself. Um, and the challenge is that how a site functions in development is often quite different from how users experience it, because third-party content doesn't behave the same in development as it does in production. Test images are often already in the developer's browser cache, and the API calls that run locally are often so fast that the delay isn't noticeable. So, developers aren't clearing their own cache, which is one issue. The second issue is that you can't measure everyone's individual user experience based upon different viewports, that based upon different cookies or rather plugins that they're using. So there's all these other elements that come into play. But CLS helps, of course, you get around that, or rather measure it effectively. So it says it measures a sum total of all individual layout shift for every unexpected layout shift that occurs during the lifespan of the page. Okay, so we've got a cumulative layout shift of 0.115. So 0.11. So it's in here, okay? So it needs improvement. It's not poor, but it does need improvement. A layout shift occurs anytime a visible element changes its position from one rendered frame to the next. And a good CLS score is above, as you can see. Layout shifts in detail. Let's go to impact fraction. There's different elements of movement. You can see how things can change in different ways. Adding content to, yeah, that's another example that we discussed. So it can move from left to right. It can, add new unstable elements, as it says, for results, and then suddenly there's a lot more results. And does this how to measure? We've got our measurement, so we don't need that. How to improve it? Okay, always include size attributes on your images and video elements. Or reserve the required space with something like CSS aspect ratio boxes. So there's always a ratio that it follows, irrespective of the image that you put in. Never insert content above existing content except in response to a user interaction. Prefer transform animations to animations of properties. Transform animations to animations of properties that trigger layout resources. So that makes sense. And if we images without dimensions, add embeds and iframes without dimensions, web fonts causing flashes of unstyled text or flashes of invisible text. I think we discussed that in a previous training. Why do SEOs care about it? Well, it's a ranking factor, and there's different areas of it. There's first contentful. So the cumulative layout shift is all based around these things which we've begun going through. Okay, FCP, SI, LCP, TTI, TBT, cumulative layout shift. It's how to fix it. It's about ratios and fonts and making sure that they preload. We've got placeholder images and bum, as you can see here, these are the things to think about. LCP, FID, QCLS, all that are part of Google's core web vitals, which is the 2021 new thing that's kind of a ranking factor, are the subset of web vitals that apply to all web pages. Core web vitals should be measured by all site owners and surfaced across all Google tools. Represents a distinct facet of the user experience measured in the field and reflects real-world experience of a critical user-centric outcome. So, guys, I've read stuff for a little bit, and I think that hopefully I've made it clear why CLS is so important. So do check it out here, and do talk to your dev team about seeing what you can do to fix it, as I'll be talking to mine. Catch you in the next one, guys.